Hello and welcome to another networks learning session. Today's video is about network architecture. And as the title says, it is just an introduction. As a disclaimer, this will not make you a network architect overnight, but it will give you a good foundation or introduction to network architecture. In this session, we will cover LAN architecture, campus design and topology design. We will also look at WAN architecture, Metro Ethernet, multi-protocol label switching, MPLS, and we will finish off with Internet VPNs. So starting with Campus LAN. Campus LAN refers to devices in a single building or multiple buildings within a close distance. So as an example, you have a building with a set of devices and hosts. So perhaps one of the first things you would like to do is to connect your computers to a switch in each building, and afterwards connect the two switches together. So you will have full connectivity between hosts in the building on the left to the ones on the right. So this is effectively a LAN. You could also interconnect your two buildings to a data center, for instance. And all these buildings have something in common. They're all within a close distance. So you're not going over a service provider, for example, to connect these hosts and these buildings. You are the administrator of this campus and you're the one connecting and building this campus. Before you go ahead and start designing a campus or LAN, you need to start asking yourself some questions. So the first one, for example, could be what capacity is needed between the buildings? What type of speed? Do you want 100 megabits? Do you want 1 gig or perhaps even 10 gigabit between buildings? What kind of port density do you want for your switches? 12 ports, 24, 48? What are the distances between the buildings? Is it 100 meters? Is it over 100 meters? So this will dictate what kind of cabling you will actually need and what kind of optics you would need. Armed with all the information you gathered after your evaluation, you can start building your LAN. So this is our next step. Say, for example, you have a set of hosts in one building, building A. You have another set of hosts in building B. Each will connect to an access switch. So this switch could be in the wiring closet, or it could be in a small data center in the basement. Every access switch connects to a distribution switch. You will then want to add additional links for redundancy or protection. So access 1 would be connected to distribution 2. Access 2 connected to distribution 1. And you may also want to interconnect the two distribution switches. So this is a typical two-tier campus design where you have your access layer, which goes from the host to the first set of access switches. Access switches are connected to distribution layer or distribution switches. This is a perfectly fine and common design, but it does have some challenges. And that is, if you start having too many distribution switches, they will need to be fully meshed. And with fully mesh, you will need more connection and more ports. For example, you have one switch, 2, 3, and 4. If you were to mesh these 4 switches, if they are distribution switches and you want to mesh them, you will need 6 links. As you grow, you will need a lot more switches and links in between. So one of the solutions is to create another layer, a core layer, and this becomes a 3-tier campus design. So how does this fix the mesh issue with the distribution? With this design, every distribution switch will only have 2 links or 2 connections towards the core routers or the core switches. So there is no need to interconnect, in fact, distribution 1 and distribution 2. All switches will only connect to the core switches. In our next slides, we'll start looking at topologies, starting with a common one, a star topology. So a switch is in the middle acting as a hub, and hosts are connected to this switch. A mesh topology, where all devices are interconnected. In addition to mesh topology, you could also have a partial mesh topology, so not all devices are connected. So finally, a spinal leaf topology. This is commonly used in a data center environment. Your spines are the top switches and your leaves are the bottom switches. Every leaf switch only connects to spine switches. There's no connections between leaf switches or spine switches. Wide area network or WAN topology comes in two different flavors. Mostly point-to-point, where one site is connected to a remote site and that remote site only. Point-to-multipoint. Here the site on the left acts as a hub. This could be your headquarters, and the sites on the right are your branches. The branches will not communicate directly. The branches will have to communicate through the central location on the left. Multipoint to multipoint is where every site can communicate with any other site. Let's start looking at Metro Ethernet. For Metro Ethernet, each site connects to the service provider with an Ethernet link. So this is the technology used, Ethernet. The switch at the service provider is placed in a POP, point of presence. The switch interface can be referred to as a user network interface or UNI. And essentially the service provider's cloud acts as a big layer 2 switch. So when an enterprise connects its routers to the service provider's cloud, it's almost as if they are connected via a switch. Metro Ethernet comes into different flavors. E-lines. This is when you have one circuit connecting each site. So one site can only connect to another remote site. Multiple E-lines. This is back again to the hub and spoke topology where the branches on the right connect to a central location on the left and the branches cannot communicate with each other. If they want to communicate, it will have to be through the central site. And then we have ELAN, where every site is connected to the service provider's cloud and every site can communicate with every other location. Then we have E-tree. In this setup, the router on the left is the E-tree route and the branches are E-tree leaves. This is a hub and spoke topology. This next section is about multi-protocol label switching, or MPLS. When an enterprise connects to a service provider, and in this case decide to route with the service provider, the service provider's routers will hold routing table for this customer, route table 1. When another customer comes in and starts routing with the service provider, we will have router table 2. So the service provider will have to hold routing for customer 1 as well as customer 2. This creates a challenge if both of these customers are using RFC 1918 addresses, private IP addresses. What if customer 1 is using the same IP range as customer 2 and there is an overlapping? With MPLS, the service provider is able to create a VRF for each customer, a virtual routing forwarding instance. Every routing table for each customer is separate from the other. There is an LSP path that will be created between customer 1 routers and another LSP path for customer 2. These two paths are completely isolated. The routing tables are completely separated, which means that customer 1 and customer 2 are allowed to use the same range of private IP addresses. This is achieved by using labels. So the provider edge or PE router, which is the first router at the service provider, will impose labels to incoming packets from either customer 1 and customer 2. The packet forwarding in the service provider's MPLS network will no longer be based on destination IP addresses, but it will be based on labels. So the service provider will use labels to switch packets from one router to the other until it reaches the destination. Let's cover some of the MPLS backbone terminology. Provider edge. This will be the first router at the service provider. This router will have the function of imposing labels on incoming packets. Customer edge. So this is the router that sits as the customer premise. In the service provider's MPLS backbone, multi-protocol BGP will be used to support MPLS. Between the customer and the PE, any IGP can be used. So if you're using OSPF between customer 1 CE and the first PE on the left, you can use the same on the right side, or you could use a different IGP such as ERGRP. What needs to happen in every PE when you have two different routing protocols is redistribution. So in every PE, OSPF will be redistributed into BGP and vice versa. And this is how you will achieve full end-to-end connectivity between customer 1 CEs. Quality of service is also supported in an MPLS backbone, but this has to be agreed with the service provider. So far we have looked at solutions where enterprise is using WAN or dedicated WAN to access the remote sites. In this section we will look at internet access to provide connectivity to remote sites. The internet access technologies available today are mostly digital subscriber line, DSL, cable TV, wireless WAN from 3G to 5G, and fiber internet. All of these access methods provide very good speed, are reliable, and valid solutions. The only red flag is that the internet is not secure. One of the methods to add security to internet is the use of VPN. The use of VPN will provide security features such as confidentiality, where the data transferred by the enterprise is not read by a man in the middle. Authentication, where the enterprise knows that the sender of the data is legit and allowed to send this data. Where the enterprise knows that the data transferred has not been tampered with. Anti-replay, where the data cannot be captured and later replayed. So let's take a look at a simple way Internet VPN works. For example, we have a host with address 10.2.2.2 connected to a router with a WAN address 2.2.2.2. On the right side, a remote site has a firewall with a WAN address or public IP address of 1.1.1.1 and a server. The host on the left wants to reach the server on the right. The host sends an RP packet to the server. The router will encrypt the RP packet from the host and sets the source address as its own WAN address and the destination of the firewall. The encryption happens at the edge router. When the packet reaches the firewall at the remote site, it is decrypted and the original packet is delivered to the server. This slide brings us to the end of our session. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you again in another video. Thank you for watching.